What up? I'm Josh Paulison, and welcome to Your Story Now. Today I'm going to cover something that might make some people upset. I guess I'll have to see. So I want to talk about trait lists. This is a pretty popular way to develop characters, and there are different types of trait lists. Some of them are better than others. But for example, this might be, okay, well, we have Bob's favorite ice cream. And so we go, his favorite ice cream is Superman. And we say, favorite TV show. And so we say My Little Pony or something. And maybe we go like, does he have a religion or anything like that? And we say that he's Catholic. And we go, okay, well, I'm getting to know my character better. But there's a huge risk in using these lists. You can assume that this data actually tells you more than it does. Learning that Bob's favorite ice cream is Superman doesn't mean anything except that his favorite ice cream is Superman. Learning that Bob's favorite TV show is My Little Pony only means that his favorite TV show is My Little Pony. And learning that he's Catholic, I mean, there's a broad range of Catholics, and I'm Protestant, so I don't know a ton about that, but if you assume that it means anything other than that he's Catholic, then you're adding stuff on. And so the danger with trait lists is that you can take them as meaning more than they mean. And so trait lists can unfortunately be great for stereotyping. And so this is why I'm a big fan of the DAB structure. So if you say his favorite ice cream is Superman, then what you can go is why, because we're assessing like, okay, we decided that he needed that, and so now we kind of go into the backstory of why is his favorite ice cream Superman. And so maybe you think that Superman is a childish ice cream, maybe you don't, you just love Superman ice cream, but if you have any sort of assumption, then you need to ask this why question and figure it out. So if you say, okay, why? Or you can also ask, how does this impact him? Well, he likes this ice cream. That's how it impacts him. Why does he like it? He and his dad had it all the time when he was a kid. It could be something like that. And the problem is that if you just assume that this trait means something about his personality, you're going down a rabbit hole of stereotyping. So then we could go again, like why? How does this impact him? And really the how does this impact him is going to help you figure out whether or not you're stereotyping. So why? It could be, maybe it's because kids, maybe he likes the characters. We could have all sorts of things. We could go into details if we want, whatever. How does this impact him? He likes the show. Basically how it impacts him. He could also connect with other people who like the show. You have a lot of different possibilities. Religion, Catholic. Why? Well, there's a lot of different reasons for that. It could be that he found hope in Catholicism. It could be, we could have a lot of different reasons. How does this impact him? It obviously does impact him in a lot of different ways, but again, this is why it's important to ask the question. Because if you start assuming things like maybe you associate Catholicism with a little more serious of a tone, well, is that necessarily tied in? So how does this impact him? Well, maybe he regularly goes to services, practices Mass, and before I butcher Catholicism because I don't know that much about it, I'm going to stop there. And so the trick with trait lists is, number one, they can help you stereotype rather than actually get to know your character. And number two, trait lists can give you a lot of unnecessary information to your story. If you have a story where your character is never seen eating ice cream and that's completely irrelevant, why are you spending all this time developing out his favorite ice cream, his favorite TV show, his religion? You need to see if those are going to impact his actions in the story. And sometimes it's going to depend on the character. Like, for some people, it could be that they always have ice cream all the time and they want dessert all the time. So the favorite ice cream could be a much bigger deal. Whereas if a character rarely has dessert or ice cream, they're not going to really change based on this trait. Because bottom line is that if Bob's family is held at gunpoint, knowing his favorite ice cream isn't going to help us that much. So we need to consider, what do we actually need to know for the story? What is actually going to impact the story? Our goal in character development is to know the characters well enough to know what they'll do throughout the story. If in your story you don't touch Bob's favorite ice cream or his favorite TV show, religion for a lot of people is going to be a lot more central, but maybe your story wouldn't touch that. Then developing all of that out is just wasted time. Now, I'm not saying that it has to be mentioned in the story for it to be impactful. For example, a lot of people, their religions will strongly impact their decisions. I know for me it does, but it may not be directly mentioned in the conversation of the story. So it's still worth developing out if it will impact the character's decisions. But that's where you have to know what is actually needed in your story. This is where I really like the DAB structure, because it starts with data you need, and then assessing how they have that data, or how they could have that data, and then developing backstory so the assessment fits. So what this allows you to do is basically reverse the process. So normally you get to know a person's backstory. You figure out like how that impacts them, and that gives you information on why they are the way that they are. In this case, what we are doing with story development is we're figuring out what they have, who they are, pieces about them, and then we are assessing how they could have that, and then we are developing the backstory so that that assessment fits. This can help us avoid stereotyping and avoid wasting time on information that is not necessary to the story.